Welcome to my Warhammer Battle Reports. This is a report of a game in the Nova Open Grand Tournament. This is the fourth game, and this is the start of the 3 games on Sunday. And I was playing with my Ogres against Warriors of Chaos Army by Chris. And this army was a little different to the other ones that I had faced before. So, first of all, I'll go through his list. He had 3 Slaanesh chariots, you can see there, some of them with those cool old steeds of Slaanesh, but they are all just regular core Slaanesh chariots. At the back he had a Chimera, a small unit of dogs. And then he had this war machine here is a Hellcat. Then he had this Death Star of Knights, or sort of mini Death Star. It's not much of a Death Star. He has his Battle Standard Bearer in there who's on a demonic mount. He has a ward against the first wound, but he's fairly lightly kitted out. And then he had a level 4 who's running Slaanesh, and no Demon Prince in this army. So this is, I think, the only Warriors army I saw without a Demon Prince of any kind, which I don't think is necessarily a bad strategy. Everyone runs for the Demon Princes. I personally think they're a bit too much of a hit or miss. Yes, the Demon Prince is extremely powerful. It can win you games, and it did very well in the last game against me. But at the same time, it can get shot dead by cannons turn 1, even with this sort of abstract line of sight rolls. And if that happens, you're really struggling uphill to make up for that. Whereas if you take just a level 4, save some points, you can keep your level 4 fairly safe. And so this guy's running a level 4 Slaanesh. There's spells to really watch out for there. Acquiescence can really make, especially with a Death Star army, can make your one unit unable to charge. Cacophonic Choir can absolutely wreck things like Iron Blasters. And Phantasmagoria is one to watch out for as well, especially in conjunction with the Hell Cannon. And then after that, he put this down, and I recognize the model as the Chaos Dwarf Magma Cannon, but he put it out on the table, and I assumed it was, another Hell Cannon, perhaps. So I asked him about it. I said, "What's that?" He says, "Oh, it's a Magma Cannon." That sounded a lot like you said, Magma Cannon. And he said, "Yeah, it's a Magma Cannon. It's from Tamokin, and you can, there are rules for allying Chaos Dwarfs with Warriors." I didn't realize those rules were in play for this tournament, but at this point the organizer had gone round, checked everybody's list, so fair enough. I hate Magma Cannons, I really do, and they come with a little fire wizard / engineer that lets you reroll the artillery dice on the Magma Cannon. Those things are just brutal against Ogres. I mean, the nice thing here is he's only got 1 and there's no Kadai Destroyer, but at the same time that's in conjunction with a Hell Cannon and all the Warriors of Chaos nastiness. The first time a Magma Cannon opened up and I took half the unit of Ogres off the board, I was in shock, and since then I've had an abiding hatred for those things. So on the other side, he had another couple of Slaanesh chariots way over on the left side of the picture, and then a single noble Gore Beast sitting there. So that's very, very tough, very hard to kill that chariot. So here's the plan. Step 1, kill the Magma Cannon. Step 2, Step 3, win. First thing, I have to kill the Magma Cannon. That thing's just got to go. Otherwise, it's going to ruin my day every single turn. If you don't know what a Magma Cannon does, it's a bit like a Dwarf Flamethrower. So it fires out a flame template. But you can place the flame template within 24 inches, and then it gets an artillery dice sort of overshoot, and then you place the template with a small end at wherever you've ended up. And you can re-roll that dice with the wizard / engineer. And they're strength 5, and they do D3 wounds each. And they will rip just about anything apart. Any infantry, monstrous infantry, that sort of thing. So here's my deployment. And you can see my Death Star is over on the right side of the picture. I've deployed it shallow, and the reason for that is because Magma Cannon. I'm trying to minimize the number of ranks. If I deploy my normal formation 3 wide and 4 or 5 deep, then a single Magma Cannon hit will hit almost all of the unit. Whereas this way I can sort of limit it to just 4 or 5. That's still not great, but it's better than nothing. So you can see my opponent has a beer on the side of the table there, Sunday morning notwithstanding. He offered me one as well, which I accepted. It was very kind of him. He said that was the first person he's ever played that's accepted a beer game 1 of Sunday morning. But I told him after I still needed it after the last game I played. So I won the dice roll to go first. So I think that was the first time this tournament. So at that point, I've got 2 Iron Blasters and my Man-Eaters, which I put in front of the Magma Cannon. I'm fairly confident I can take that out. So what I did was I reformed my Death Star back into its sort of normal formation and then moved it forward a bit. So that's what it looked like. And I've moved my Mornfang up a little bit. And I've got one of my cannons near my general's unit. The other one's over on the left. And what I've done is I've put it on the hill. And my plan is when he gets close enough to charge with those chariots, I'm going to hop behind the hill and buy myself another turn. For the time being, I was able to line up a lovely shot with his Chaos Dwarf Wizard, the Magma Cannon, and the Chimera behind it, all in a line. So I shot at the Magma Cannon with everything. I opened up on that thing. It took me the Man-Eaters shooting it with it's tough 7, but they've got poison, so they can kill war machines quite easily. And then fired both Iron Blasters. It took both Iron Blasters to kill it. So finally I was able to deal 3 wounds to it. I also even hit the engineer on the way in. And of course he gets a lookout sir being an engineer for being within a war machine. This was fine with me. If he wants to take the hit on the Magma Cannon and kill the Magma Cannon, that was okay. He actually failed his lookout sir roll, and I wounded him, and I rolled a 1 for the number of wounds. So he took a wound, didn't kill him. He only had 2. And I wasn't able to bounce far enough to hit the Chimera, or if I did, it passed its regen. Either way, it wasn't hurt. But I did kill the Magma Cannon, so far going to plan. Right, his turn. He moved up a bit, not an awful lot. He moved his chariots up as much as he could. He's trying to get a sort of cohesive line of attack against me. Sorry about the blurry picture here. I try to take my photos during the games as quickly as possible. I am not a quick player. I've even been called out on being a slow player in the past. So I'm conscious that anything I do that's sort of not necessary, that might slow the game down, is not going to be appreciated. So I try to take photos as fast as possible, and sometimes, I just get a blurry one. It slips through. Chariots moved up as much as he could. Everything else just kept pace with them. Then he fired his surviving Hell Cannon. He fires the Hell Cannon at my Death Star. In the magic phase, he had managed to get Phantasmagoria through on Irresistible Force on my main unit. So at this point, I'm testing on 3d6 for leadership tests. He hits it splat on the middle of my Death Star. He has to, with a Hell Cannon, special rule is that if you suffer at least 1 casualty, and it does have to be a casualty, not a wound, then you have to take a panic test no matter what, and you suffer -1 to your leadership on that panic test. So he hits me dead on, kills just 1 ogre. That's enough for a panic test. I roll my panic, I fail it. I roll it again, I fail it. So I'm testing on -1 leadership on 3 dice. So my Death Star now turns around and starts running back towards the board edge. I don't roll that fast, so they don't end up going off the board yet. Fortunately, I had moved forward on my first turn after reforming, so they weren't that close to the board edge. So here they are fleeing. Okay, in my turn, I declared a charge with the Mornfang against one of his chariots. He fled with that chariot, so the Mornfang failed a charge. That was my only charge for that turn. Next, after charging, it was obviously my rally test. At this point, I have to run my Death Star. I can't use the BSB because he's fleeing. I can use the highest leadership, so it is leadership 9 plus 1 for the musician is 10, but it's on 3d6. So I roll the dice and I rally. So they turn round. Good. Now, by the time his turn rolls around again, Phantasmagoria will worn off. I should be good. Over here, I managed to get one of my chaff bull units in front of his chariots. I'm just trying to make sure those 3 chariots stay out of the game long enough that they don't gang up on me. Over here, another blurry picture, sorry. I managed to block one of his chariots with a cat. There's a Chimera there, and it's easily able to charge my Man-Eaters. But if he wants to do that, fine. My Man-Eaters have the Flaming Banner and poison. They will just tear the Chimera apart. In my turn, so this is my shooting phase. I was able to gun down not just the chariot, but also the chimera. So I shot up the chimera with the poison shots first, and then fired a cannon through both the chariot and the chimera, killing both. Right, so in his turn, he managed to rally that Slanesh chariot up in the top left that was fleeing, and moved everything else up a little bit more. And he fires the Hell Cannon again. This time, Phantasmagoria is worn off. I should have my full leadership. He direct hit again. Bang, right in the middle of my unit. Kills another ogre, just one. That's enough for a panic check. I roll the dice. I fail. I re-roll for the BSB. I fail again. They start fleeing again from the board edge. This time they're not very far, but I roll pathetic for my flee distance. They stay on the board. So they flee right to the edge. They're maybe, 2 or 3 inches away from the board edge tops. I think it was like 5 inches away, and I rolled like a 3 or a 4. So they were right on the board edge at this point. So, my turn. I have, at this point, I've pulled my Iron Buster back off that board edge, so it can keep shooting at the stuff on my right flank without getting any risk of being charged over here because of the tournament rules that hills block line of sight. And then for my Death Star, I didn't need to rally. Once again, I'm rallying on a 10, but it's with no reroll, and if I fail it, the unit is completely destroyed. I rolled my rally test, and I passed. Okay, so that was way too close for comfort there. At this point, most of my units are now outside of the general's bubble, but I've been able to take care of most of the threats that can hurt my Mournfang or my Man-Eaters. So I moved up a little bit more. I'm not exactly sure what happened with the Mournfang. I think they declared the charge against the Hell Cannon and failed it. At this point, I've started to freak out about the Hell Cannon. I also spent this turn firing I think I fired everything at the Hell Cannon. At this point, I was kind of aware that I still needed to deal with all these different chariots. I still needed to deal with his main unit. I could have been firing those cannons at his BSB, who's got a sort of limited amount of protection. But I'd started to wig out about the Hell Cannon. That one more Hell Cannon hit, and that could be me off the board. I couldn't flee anymore. I was right at the board edge, and I know that firing at a Hell Cannon with cannons is stupid. There's it's not going to pay off, and it didn't. I don't think I did anything respectable to it at all. Because if you've got to hit the Hell Cannon, you've got to win the Hell Cannon, then it gets a 5+ ward save, and then it gets like a Chaos Dwarf save to see if you hit a Chaos Dwarf instead of the Hell Cannon, at which point, your chance of actually, wounding it, let alone taking it out, is pretty negligible. I also had another cat that I've put in front of one of his chariots. Again, I'm trying to prevent his chariots getting into something like my Man-Eaters, where, the impact hits will really wreck the unit before I get to destroy it. Okay, so his turn. He fires the Hell Cannon again at my Death Star, and then he hits the Hell Cannon again. So third turn in a row, third hit in a row, kills an ogre or two. I have to take a panic test again. So I roll my panic test again. Leadership 8. There's no Phantasmagoria. I fail. And at this point, I was like, "This is it. This is not the way to go. But this is it." I go to roll it again, and I roll a 7, and they don't panic off the board. That was way too close. Okay, so my turn again. This time, my Mournfang charges into that chariot. He doesn't flee. He's too close to the edge. He doesn't want to just flee off the board. And I run these Man-Eaters into the side of this chariot here. So this chariot has in the previous turn run into the cat, killed it, and reformed. The photos are slightly out of sequence here. My hope with that is, one, I can kill the chariot, but also I'm looking to overrun into his main Death Star unit. So a lot went on here. Unfortunately, I've missed a ton of photos, so I'll try and describe what happened. My man-eater charged into the chariot, destroyed the chariot on the charge. I had one man-eater with 1 wound left after the chariot's attacks. I overran into his main Knight Death Star unit. The main Knight Death Star unit, I was obviously in contact with his BSB, but since I overran in my turn, he didn't fight till the end of his turn. That basically locked his main unit in place. I was able to move my Death Star right up close in that, to just in front of his unit. So his BSB killed my last man-eater without any trouble at all, but then they were stuck right in front of my main unit. I would then charge his unit, and my Gut Star just laid waste to his Chaos Knights and broke his wizard and his BSB, ran them down. That put my unit well into his deployment zone there. Over here, my Mournfang killed a chariot, overran into the Hell Cannon, which stopped the damn thing from firing at me. It took them a few turns. Eventually, they managed to kill the Hell Cannon. It took several rounds of combat to do that because it's very tough, but slowly I was able to wear it down. And then over on the left flank, his chariots have come up onto the hill. He wants to charge my Ion Blaster and get it. In my turn, I had a Saber Tusk that was just floating around in the middle of the board. I never had anything particularly good to sacrifice it on. I ran that Saber Tusk into the back of one of these chariots. I then cursed myself for being an idiot. I had another Ion Blaster outside the picture. I could have potentially bounced the cannonball through both of those chariots and then used this Ion Blaster in the picture to grape shot the remaining. If either of them survived, grape shot, then and finished them off. But since I put the cat in there, that sort of limited my shooting capability with the other cannon. In the end, I was able to kill the unengaged chariot between the two cannons. But still, if he kills the cat, he can then overrun, charge me next turn. That's probably going to kill my Iron Blaster. It's probably not a big deal at this point, but still a silly mistake, I thought. But as it turned out, the cat was able to survive the attacks from the chariot. He only had his 2 crewmen. They managed to whiff their attacks. They only did 1 wound. I had a charge and a rear. They failed their break check, ran off the board. 21-point cat just killed the Chaos Chariot. And that was the end of the game. So I'd pretty much wiped out most of his units at this point. So the final result, Ogres won. I managed to get all of the bonus points. I was able to get a unit into his deployment zone. I killed his general. I killed his most expensive unit. I broke him, obviously, in the process. And I was able to keep one of my units near the what was it called? The Watchtower. So I got a full points win there. And that was able to push me a good deal up the tables for the next game. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Next game, I'm going to be playing against Vampire Counts.